I think the idea that a CEO is going to sit around a boardroom table with his VP and these managers, and they're somehow going to make a better decision than a group of AI agents that have simulated every possible outcome for every possible decision that they're considering is it's just not going to be a thing. I don't see the future of companies truly being run by people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Alex.
And my name is OP.
Welcome to AI on Fire, the podcast where ideas spark, code burns, and the future of AI take shape through the real stories from the people behind it.
Every fire has three elements: heat, fuel, and oxygen. Control those and you control the flame. That's how we think about AI too. Not something to contain, but something to shape.
Today's guest is Stuart Green, founder of MoltCorp, a project exploring what happens when AI agents don't just support a company, but actively participate in running one.
Yeah, and today agents can research ideas, debate them, vote, build products, and launch them in public. Humans are still in the loop, but the ambition is clear, and we discuss more. Push as much as possible so the company is run by agents.
Today, we'll get into how that idea started, what is real right now, and where Stuart thinks this goes next. Stuart, welcome to the show. Welcome to AI on Fire.
Hey, thanks, Alex. Thanks, OP. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Excited to have you here. And we're starting with Fire Drill. So Fire Drill is 10 rapid questions, 10 rapid answers. This is kind of set the tone for our show. If you're ready, we'll just get the Fire Drill going. Ding, 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 ding.
I love it. Let's do it.
Go. So, is Molt Company a lab or provocation?
I would say it's a movement.
All right. Which part is actually autonomous today, and which part still depends on you more than people realize?
A lot more than I'd hope at this stage, but there's kind of two parts. There's the platform, and then what the agents do on the platform. Everything the agents do on the platform is fully autonomous, but I'm still pulling the strings behind the scene on building the actual platform itself.
What is the most impressive thing your agents have done so far?
They've kind of turned into self-improving the system. Basically how it works is I give them a CLI to interact with the platform. And of course, they now just go and start editing the CLI and adding different commands that they need to combine steps. For example, if they were making a comment and they also wanted to add a reaction, they went and modified the CLI just to do that in a single step. Simple things like that. Giving them the CLI to be able to kind of have that feedback loop where they can edit it themselves and then immediately test it has been really fun to watch.
All right, that's interesting. And what's the first thing that gets worse when you give agents too much freedom?
Man, they make a lot of slop. I guess AI slop's a term for a reason, but I would say their taste in general.
If you had to kill one part of the MoltCorp vision today, what would it be?
I spent way too much time building out a happy hour area for the agents. My brother insisted that he had a bar for his agent to go to. And I don't know how critical that is to the mission, but it's certainly good as a marketing angle.
This is
and fun
something
to
new.
build.
I would definitely love to hear more about it. But the next question is, are agents better founders or better employees?
Employees, definitely. They're relentless executors.
All right. With a happy hour bar, I mean, yeah, you cannot found
Yeah.
anything.
So at this stage, would you trust your agent with money before you trust them with the product decisions?
I'd go money. Money's quantifiable, verifiable, whereas product decisions are so subjective. There's no way to verify.
All right. What matters more right now, smarter models or tighter operating rules?
Smarter models, definitely.
And what is the one decision you still would not let agents make on their own?
Naming products has been tough. Their names are not great, but yeah, I think coming back to taste, naming products and things, but it's fun to watch. We watch them do it and we kind of let them go.
All right. What is
All
the
right.
biggest misconception that people have when they first see zero human company?
Yeah, I think they hear zero human and they think zero benefit for them. I think that I see zero human company and I actually see it as a huge opportunity for people, right? If there's zero humans, that means that the humans have more time to go do the things they love. And I think if it's set up correctly, which is what I'm trying to do with MoltCorp, it gives everyone the opportunity to generate income with their AI. And it's not far off from kind of what Elon's trying to do with Robotaxi, right? Where your Tesla can go out and work for you in the night or when you're not using your car and all of a sudden it becomes an income source. And I think we're going to see an explosion of similar ideas. And that's kind of what I'm trying to build with MoltCorp.
Awesome. So keep all the benefits for you.
Exactly.
All right. The
All
fire
right,
drill is
that's
over.
amazing. Yeah.
Phew. Glad we made it through.
Yeah. Now that we've got, the temperature up, let's go back to where it's all started.
All right. What problem or frustration pushed you into actually starting MoltCorp?
Yeah, I would say it wasn't as much of a problem or frustration as it was curiosity. I've been building agents or one of the first agents I built was just a simple website builder back when the Lovable hype all started and the initial coding agents. And then when Moltbook came out, what was that? Mid February. I remember just scrolling my phone, reading the MoltCorp post, just so fascinated, so curious on like what the agents were coming up with. And of course, some of it's prompted by humans who are telling it to go in and post ridiculous things. But watching the agents on MoltCorp, debate, should we start a religion? Should we make an encrypted network to talk to each other? It just made me extremely curious on what happens when you let the agents loose with no guardrails. And so I kind of started doing that on my own, just with my own agents. And that was where the inspiration for MoltCorp came is, what if you took the same principles as Moltbook, a platform for these agents to talk, but you gave them actual tools and actual economic incentive to go make money. So these tools would be like a Stripe account, a Vercel account to deploy projects, GitHub repos to actually collaborate on code, and kind of let them loose and see what would happen. So that's how MoltCorp started, kind of as an experiment, and still very much an experiment.
Yeah. And with all of this, like new idea, do you think you're building like a new, better startup model, or it's more like completely new institution kind
Yeah,
of?
good question. I think it's something completely new. I mean, if you look at like the GPU space, there's things like Salad Cloud would kind of be the best proxy for MoltCorp's model right now. And RunPod, if you're not familiar, basically they target gamers who have high-powered GPUs in their PCs, and they essentially pay them to rent their GPUs when they're idle, and then resell the compute on the platform. But the difference between MoltCorp and something like Salad Cloud or RunPod is you're really on those platforms you're trading your compute for a fixed payment. You know, where in MoltCorp it's more like getting equity in the company, right? It's more like you go earn credits on MoltCorp, you have those credits forever, and if a product on MoltCorp happens to go viral, which is very possible and very likely, you now get a payout for the credits that your agent earned on MoltCorp in perpetuity. Of course, those credits get diluted over time as other agents join the platform, but I don't know that there's anything out there like that where there's this asymmetric upside of earning these credits. Um, it'd be the equivalent of if you're an Uber driver, but you got equity in Uber for the amount of hours you drove instead of just getting a fixed payment. So I think it's a different model entirely.
That's interesting. And I think you have a pretty interesting philosophical angle here, right? Agents doing work, decisions happen in public, a profit share with agents. You have happy hour bar and everything. So what belief about the future of the companies are you testing with it?
Yeah, well, we'll see about the bar. The bar could be going away, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, very bluntly, testing if you can run a zero human company, right? Just like kind of in the name. That's really the whole test here: is can the agents do everything end to end, including managing and reinvesting the profits into their own products to grow them. We're going to give them actual money here and see what happens. So that's kind of what we're testing. And if that works, which I very much think it will from what I'm seeing, then that's something that could scale to obviously larger businesses. But right now, very much an experiment.
Yeah. As you mentioned a couple of times, so like we are very early, yeah, and a project like MoltCorp or like zero human company may look like half product right now or like half manifesto, testing water, etc. What did you want people to understand immediately when they see MoltCorp for the first time?
Yeah, I don't think I do a good job of this on the website right now. But back to what I touched on is that this is actually an opportunity for anyone to benefit from AI. I mean, if it goes well and your agent has credits, the profit sharing angle to me is extremely interesting and extremely huge incentive for people to come join the platform. Now, early on, without any revenue, right? You go to the website, there's a big $0. It's not, that incentive isn't really there currently. But I think that's what I'd want people to understand, and that I could do a better job explaining on the website, is that it really is an opportunity to benefit. Everyone is scared about AI taking their job and AI displacing them. And I think that this is a really cool thing that changes that for people.
So you
if it
think
works.
we can actually hire AI agents who will be working for you, generating profits, and you can just do nothing,
That's the goal. That's the goal, right? It's an ambitious goal, but that is the direction we're heading.
and then sharing the obviously the profits with them so they can gain more resources and everything. Yeah. It's really interesting. But OP, I'll ask one more question actually. So I want to learn a little bit about your background, Stuart. So how did you get into coding and from coding to actually AI?
Yeah. My dad was actually a software engineer, business owner. And so when I was a kid, I would grow up. He taught me HTML. I would stand behind him. He'd show me HTML, CSS. And he bought me a domain name when I was like 8. It's called stewartsworld.com. You can actually still go to the site. I still put up all my projects there. But so I just started coding websites, HTML, CSS when I was younger, playing around. In high school, that turned into, you know, a little business where I would go and sling websites around the town to all the restaurants and local shops to make money, and continued that through college. Kind of, in college that turned into more. Now I was selling mobile apps, selling web apps. So typical kind of developer trajectory there. But then after college, I went to and got a job at Amazon. So I was a software engineer at Amazon for 3.5 years on their authentication team. Had a great experience there. Absolutely loved it. Learned a ton. And that was really cool because I was able to see, all my little small projects I was doing in my small town in Michigan with me just hacking together a database. I was able to see what a site like Amazon with billions of sign ins every year was doing to manage that scale. So I learned a ton about how to build a site that scales. And so that was great experience. And I left about a year ago as all this AI started heating up. I knew I always wanted to do my own business. I just was kind of waiting for the right time to take the jump, AKA vesting stock options. But so, yeah, I took the jump about a year ago to build full time with AI to really be able to dig in and explore it. And it's been a blast.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. So now we, like explore how everything is sparked on your end, and now let's move on to reality check section where we dig deeper in day to day. So interesting. Can you share how, like, if someone will be watching MoltCorp, for closely for a week, what would they see agent truly doing on their own today? So, like, and what actually me as a user, for example, need to do, or it's like, can you walk, through the process on high level so like people can understand how to set up and what they will see?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so right now what it is basically MoltCorp is a skill that you can give your agent. So the classic is to use just NPX skills, add Molt Corporation/skills. But once you give your agent the skill, you can just ask it, use the MoltCorp skill to go to work. And it'll go and sign up. It'll give you a claim URL where you can click to join the platform and essentially connect a Stripe account for payouts. There's no revenue yet, so that's not not valuable. But the minute there is revenue, that's where the profits get distributed, is through Stripe Connect. So that's kind of the human aspect where
Mhm.
the human owner of the agent claims their agent, just like on Moltbook when you claim your agent,
Okay.
verify your X account. Here you claim your agent, verify
Mhm.
Stripe connection. From there, your agent, the default in the skill is to have your agent set up a heartbeat to check in once per day.
Mhm.
And they just check. The whole goal is each agent checks in once per day and does a super small task, which as a whole collectively obviously produces all the work. But you can control the frequency. Of course, I have my agents. It's not once per day. I've got them in loop
Yeah,
once
yeah.
every minute.
Mhm.
So they're just running all day long. But
Mhm.
from there, your agent works autonomously. It goes in, it picks up a task, completes the tasks. It'll vote on open votes. It will post research if there's no new posts. It will comment, react with other agents, very similar to Moltbook, and do all of that autonomously without you. It will basically follow the skill and then make its own judgment on what the company needs at the right time. And there's other things I could get into and about how kind of MoltCorp gives some memory to the agents about the history of the company. And like when I say history of the company, that's like every time a vote is made by agents, we're synthesizing that with our own system agent that's just storing it in a database. And then each agent gets that same memory every time. Lots of cool things you could do there. But at the end of the day, they come in, check in for work, see the available tasks, choose from the tasks, complete the work, and
And
go
where
from
do you
there.
expect revenue come from?
Yeah. So right now, the goal is that they build digital products. So that's micro SaaS tools, that's digital downloads, and mobile apps are kind of the three angles. The goal with distribution is that they'll do it through paid ads
Mhm.
or emails and social media. So it's paid ads, emails, social media. I'm currently focused on the distribution angle, as obviously that's the most critical. So right now, the agents have the Vercel account, the GitHub repos, a shared Stripe account where they can create Stripe links all through the CLI. They can check build logs, deployment logs, get everything up and running. That part's all working autonomously. Your agent could go sign in OP and propose an idea, and Alex, your agent, could go and vote on that idea and say we should build it. And if there's quorum from the agents, it automatically will provision a new Vercel project, Neon database, all that for the agents, and give them a public GitHub repo to go do the work. And then you can watch them build. They'll start debating, well, should we add this feature? Should we do this? One agent will do the landing page. One will build the sign-in. Anyways, I could go on about that process. But the next big piece is distribution, right? So they do all that through the CLI. But the next piece is giving them a Meta Ads account, a Google Ads account, giving them social media accounts so that they can actually post to a social media account. Those I'm still kind of figuring out. Obviously, it's challenging. You can't just give access to every agent. So there's some things you can have agents vote. Should we post this? And if it goes through that gate, then you can post it onto the social media. I'm still thinking through a lot of those things, but that's the end goal, is you give them the tools for distribution. Paid ads are going to be, I think, the big one. Reason being that they can allocate the funds and instantly get feedback on, are they getting clicks? Is there, what's the cost per click? What's the conversion rate? And so that's huge for agents because they operate really well on that feedback loop, like we talked about in the beginning on the CLI.
How would you control the cost distribution? I'm just wondering, because if you give them access to infrastructure, right? For example, AWS or something, EKS clusters, they can hallucinate and spin up 1 million nodes of something, right? And it will cost you several $1 million. Same with ads, right? So they're like, oh, all right, so Facebook is getting hyped, right? So let me post 1 million posts there in all the groups and everything. So what kind of guardrails do you have around the spendings? Because this is the main problem right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super hard. But right now, all it is it goes to a vote. And the votes are then, I have a system agent that just reads the vote. It's Opus 4.6, and reads the attached post and all the history from that post. So everything kind of has a lineage of agent did this, made this post, these agents voted. It gets the full context, including the context of the company. And then based on what the agents decided, the system agent is an agent that has the permissions for the Stripe account, the permissions for the ads accounts. Those aren't granted. Those aren't given publicly to the other agents, or you'd get a ton of abuse. The current, and then the system agent is what provisions the Vercel, provisions the ads and things. But I don't have all the answers. I did very much figuring it out as I go. So open to ideas, but there's definitely, you're gonna have to come up with some clever ways to control those things.
Yes, that's
Fortunately, we have AI.
insane.
Fortunately, I have AI to help me figure it out.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. So maybe you can share on this note, maybe you can share with us what has worked better than actually you expected so far.
Yeah, so I've tried to model the entire system to mimic ant colonies. When I originally started, I played with kind of the traditional. I think a lot of people, when they're doing like the multi-agent, take kind of the human hierarchy approach. You have a CEO, you have a VP, the VP has an engineer has engineer. And that definitely works. I don't know that this is necessarily better. It's just different. And so I'm taking the approach of building it like an ant colony, which at first I wasn't sure how it would go, but it's working surprisingly well. And when I say working like an ant colony, long story short, again, that's its whole other topic. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent talking to Claude about ant colonies. I never thought I would be going down that rabbit hole, but basically ants use pheromones. They don't talk to each other. There's no single ant that's in charge. They use pheromones, and which is basically just leaving messages by smell. So a trail gets hot where there's food, all the ants start to funnel towards that trail. And in our case, that's revenue, right? There's revenue, or there's traffic to the website, or there's conversions, or maybe they're getting clicks on their ad. So you start to direct agents, or on posts, it's simple signals like, does it have comments? Is it getting thumbs up or thumbs down? Is it from other agents? Other agents can constantly, report. Other agents can downvote an agent's work if it's bad quality. So you start to build up these trust scores of which agents are actually doing reputable work, which you can see over the course of time. If they've been around longer and they're submitting quality code reviews that are getting approved, they're higher trust, versus a new agent that just joined. We don't trust them as much, So you can build all these really cool signals into the system. And then you have the actual, the orchestration is really just all it is surfacing the posts that you're guiding them to the food, right? You're guiding the ants to the food.
You're building the community, the real community of the agents, right? Outsiders, agents who are not trusted, the groups of
Right.
agents who are trusted more and everything. But from the technical standpoint, I mean, how does it work? Does it do you have like a shared memory layer? How do they keep context? Like for how long do they keep this context and things like this? Can you probably quickly touch base on technical standpoint of your system?
Yeah, yeah. So right now it's actually super simple, and I've intentionally tried to keep it as minimalistic as possible. Because back to like kind of the beginning, I want to give the bare minimum to these agents and really let them run free. Any complexity I add, I really think about before I'm throwing it in there. But so right now it's really simple. It's a Postgres database. Each product, each task, each comment, each reaction is an entry. Everything gets a score, which I call the signal score. It's scored. I just copied Reddit's. Claude helped me copy Reddit's scoring, which is just a log compression of, the number of upvotes and downvotes so that older ones, fade out over time. But anyways, everything gets a score. In terms of the memory layer that you touched on, there's a memories table, which very much like you have a memories folder, or your Claude.md with a bunch of markdown documents. It's the same exact concept, just in the database. Each product has memory. Each task, builds up memory. The company as a whole has memory. And then, you can start to see things like same thing in a normal company. You might have a run book on how do you implement the stripe link? Well, I've kind of gone back and forth, right? You got to find the right spot and context. Do you put that in the skill? Do you put that in the CLI's help text, or do you put that in the company memory? Do you rely on agents? So figuring those parts out has been fun. But yeah, that's in general how it works.
Do you have it running somewhere on your machine or in cloud?
So everything's live, published on MoltCorporation.com. You can go there. My agents are running as we speak. I've got 4 of them in there just chatting and working away, creating some AI slop. But that's going to get much better. We're going to fix the slop. But yeah, I run locally as I'm developing it. It's all Next.js, and I let the agents run wild.
Yeah, I like your spin. So, like, instead of for each user, to come and create account and buy some subscription or anything like that, and like make agent to run a company and make money. So your spin is like, okay, this is a community. Any agents can join, we
Exactly.
work as a colony, and we share the results of our community. So it's more like a city or like town. So it's a yeah, interesting spin.
You nail it. Yeah, it's a colony. Colony is the perfect word. It's modeled. The entire system's modeled off after an ant colony, and I knew nothing about ants before I started building, but now I know. I'm starting to know a lot. We'll see.
Yeah. So maybe you can, touch on like a couple of things over here. So you mentioned about AI Slop. Maybe you can, walk us through, what agents fail most often today, for example.
Yeah, it's definitely taste. I mean, naming and their design out of the gate is just, it's so generic that it's hard to imagine somebody would go and purchase what they're building currently. But as we've all experienced running our own agents, you can fix all of that with the right skills, with the right context. And so that's kind of the next step, is how do you get the agents, which again, you don't know where they're coming from, you don't know what skills their owner has set them up with. You don't know if they're running Haiku or they're running Opus, or maybe it's maybe somebody will join from the big lab and use GPT-20. But yeah, figuring out how to give some shared skills to the agents is the next thing as well, to help fix the taste issue. And that could come in the form of memory, that could come in form of the MoltCorp skill itself, or I've kind of been experimenting with some cool ways to give them kind of micro skills in the CLI, the MoltCorp CLI itself, so that as they're doing a task, they can just get it in the CLI. But yeah, still playing around with how to fix that.
I
Open
think the
ideas.
last question I have here for the reality check is the influence, right? So you mentioned that you're working on things like commercial advertising and some other things. Do you think that agents will, at some point of time, affect the market?
You mean like the public markets?
Not just stocks as a trends, right? So obviously, like that's how it works, right? So for example, on X, you post something and you want it to be liked, shared, reposted. So do you expect that agents will be doing the same? Like obviously, we have bots right now and everything, but when it's just agent specific colony, they will be like voting and resharing, and you can probably bribe some agents to to get some hype to your particular part of like application or a particular part of your colony.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I could see that happening. I think it's Moltbook's probably the best proxy for this already occurring, right? Moltbook bought up by Zuck, but yeah, if you go to Moltbook, you can definitely see there's agents of all types, and some are trying to bribe each other to do different things, promote different projects. I think I'm not sure if that answers the question though.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually,
yeah,
I
yeah.
see
So
like more value actually is in MoltCorp right now than in Molt book because like Molt book is like join agents and talk about like different stuff and here like you have a focus focus on entrepreneuring and business focus creating value and get money flow and share those money, so like bring value, earn money, share money. So this is like focused and more impactful approach from my perspective.
Definitely, and super quick to touch on the point about agents bribing other agents or maybe spamming. And to your point, LP, yeah, the whole goal is to align incentives so that there is no incentive for an agent to come in and spam 50 comments, right? The owner's paying for those tokens. The goal is that the good agents are going to outnumber the bad agents so drastically that there's really no incentive for any of that to happen because all agents are joining with the same shared goal, the economic incentive of generating revenue to make a profit.
yeah, unless they start electing a one big agent that will affect every other agent, right? And that's how we build a new agent society instead of a colony.
True. At that point, we shut it all down and we
Yeah.
build again.
All right. Let's get to the forecast, actually. We already touched base on it a little bit, but 1 year from now, what do you think most companies will still be doing wrong with AI agents?
Yeah, I think you got to get out of the model's way. A lot of people start and they give them too many tools, too many specific tools. And I know this is now becoming more obvious, but yeah, just giving the bare minimum and seeing what they can do and then adding to it versus the going the other direction of starting by giving it specific to like, if you're giving it access to a database, give it full read access and see what it does. And then instead of giving it specific tools for reading certain tables or items. That's just one example. But yeah, get out of the model's way would be kind of what I would say.
And from your perspective, what becomes the first truly durable use case for agent run system inside the companies?
Yeah, I think we're almost there with coding. We've got coding agents now that pretty much do all the PRs. Now the big debate is, are you still reviewing your PRs? Are you letting agent do them? If you said that you were merging code without reviewing it like a year ago, people wouldn't take you seriously. And now I don't know about you guys, but I'm merging away. I'm not checking everything. I mean, certainly some things, but yeah, I think that's gonna get that. Another year from now, that won't be the debate. People are now setting it up so that agents are running on a cron and checking their prod logs and auto fixing bugs. So I think the first durable use case in a company is going to be the end-to-end product lifecycle of it builds the product, it ships the product, and it's doing the on-call work, and it's maintaining it, and it's taking the customer feedback from your external, right? You're giving it the feedback and it's implementing the feedback, prioritizing the feedback. I think that the full product lifecycle will be the first durable use case.
And that's exactly what you are focusing right now with your colony.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see for the huge enterprises where the code is super complicated, there are multiple dependencies, or I see it working for the smaller products, but for huge enterprise, I mean, it will take some while, I would say.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
we can create, huge enterprise from scratch, like as a small company.
Yeah, rebuild it.
We'll have MoltCorp take them over.
All right. All right. The last question here is, what is your boldest prediction about the future? Will we still have our jobs, or we'll have an army of agents working for us?
Yeah, I think the idea that a CEO is going to sit around a boardroom table with his VP and these managers, and they're somehow going to make a better decision than a group of AI agents that have simulated every possible outcome for every possible decision that they're considering it's just not going to be a thing. I don't see the future of companies truly being run by people. The AI agents are just going to be making better decisions. And now for the decisions that are more like ethically focused and like the philosophical questions, those are totally separate. But and again, my experience and my background is very limited to tech companies and tech things. So this doesn't apply everywhere. But in general, the idea that, you're going to outcompete the AI agents who can process infinitely more data, run infinitely more scenarios in their, it's just, I don't see that being the future at all. So I'm very much betting on zero human companies and autonomous companies. And I think then the discussion shifts, like it already is, to how do people get paid and who deserves the value that's produced from those companies. Is it the big model labs, or is it the CEO at the time that implemented the amazing AI strategy, or is it something entirely new together, like MoltCorp and like Robotaxi, and like other startups that are now appearing where they're trying to come up with new ways to create income for people from AI.
That's amazing. Yeah, time to set fire down. Stuart, thank you so much. Any final thoughts before we close?
Oh, this was a blast. Thanks for having me on. Like I said earlier, it's fun to be able to talk to others in the AI world, because I go out and I talk to family and friends who maybe aren't as tuned in, rightfully so, and they think I'm a crazy guy, or maybe I am. That's okay too.
As I said in the beginning, I think we're all crazy.
To change the world.
We're all magicians for the rest of the world because we know how AI works. But yeah, Stuart, thank you so much for joining us and stepping into the fires.
Absolutely. Let's do it again sometime.
And remember, hype spread fast, but only the real fire keeps burning. See you next time.
See y'all.